Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2, check 3.
Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight's school board meeting. Carrie, can you please call roll?
Mr. Baden? Here. Mrs. Hopkemeyer? Here. Ms. McKnight? Here. Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Stamm?
Can we all stand for the pledge?
Gosh.
Thank you. All right, first item on the agenda is the Board of Education minutes from last meeting. Is there any comments, questions, concerns from the board from that? And if not, I need a motion to approve the minutes. Shelley, and a second? Jeff? And Carrie, when you're ready, can you please call roll?
Mr. Baden? Mrs. Hopkemeyer? Yes. Ms. McKnight? Yes. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stamm?
Yes.
Item number 3, treasurer's report.
Thank you. First, I want to share a little update. As you know, back in January, we approved the financial recovery plan to ODU, the Ohio Department of Education Workforce. Sorry, still called ODE. And one of the things I get to do is report back to you monthly on how that is going. So I wanted to share the 24 cuts that we made. So cuts that we made, reductions for this fiscal year 24 was 10% on the purchase services, 10% on supplies and materials, and we did not replace a psych position. So those reductions are all in place. I also wanted to share, if you saw, I shared with you that the Rover pipeline had some breaking news last Thursday, and they have reached an agreement with the tax commissioner on their value, which is what we're going through with Nexus. However, we've already been to where they're at. We reached this agreement back in the summer of '22, and then they have, let me think, oh gosh, I forgot. I said I had a note in here, I forgot. Sorry. I think they have in Rover, they have maybe 70 school districts and close to 40 county auditors. So in Nexus, we have 46 schools and 13 county auditors. So we had one county auditor, the Lorain County Auditor, filed the appeal. So now it's at the Supreme Court level. So although that's great news for Rover, it's only going to be good news or great news for Rover Pipeline recipients. However, if one of their county auditor appeals, they're going to be where we're at. So right now, it's the Supreme Court is trying to decide whether or not the county auditor can appeal. So I don't know if that'll maybe make them not appeal it. I don't know what to think of it, but I just want it to be clear that we've been where they are. We thought it was a great thing too. I remember that day well. And the county auditor filed the second to the last day that he could, so before the time was up. So, and then the one other thing I wanted to share briefly is last month I talked about the millage in the school district and how the outside and inside works, and then today I just want to focus roughly on the inside millage. Yeah, well, I have it in front of me. It's weird when I look at it. So the county auditor goes through a reappraisal every 6 years, and then the third year at midpoint, there's a triennial update. So that we're in a reappraisal year right now in '24 for collection in '25. The inside millage is set by the Budget Commission, and they have set, it's a total of 10 mills, and it's divided up between school districts and other municipalities. The school has 4.3 mills of inside millage. Last month when I was talking about the millage, all of our levies are a fixed sum amount. So the amount stays the same, but the millage goes down. With the exception of the inside millage. Inside millage is unvoted millage. All the other millage is voted, or outside millage. So I thought I would break this down to you because, and you can see the peach colored are the reappraisal or revaluation years, and then the blue are the triennial updates. But I broke this down for you to show you the district valuation. So for this year, line 23, the very last line with numbers in there, is 1,364,000,000. Yeah. But then the next column is what the increase was over from the previous year to the current year. So then I also broke it down, the dollar amount that we've received each of those years from the inside millage. The amount that went to the general fund, and then the amount that went to the permanent improvement fund, because our 4.3 mils is broken down between the general fund and permanent improvement. So just in the general fund for the last 19 years, we've gotten basically almost $1.3 million, but that only equates to what, less than $70,000 a year. So we don't see the money. This is what raises taxes, so this part of this does, because this is where we see revenue that's based on the millage. So we're going to receive 4.3 mils of current value, not of the rolled back millage that I talked about last month, if you were here or heard anything about it. But that millage does not roll back by House Bill 920. It stays the same. So basically, it's treated the same as real estate. It comes in, other than the general fund, is our operating fund. So that's like in regards to the levy that we're asking for, those are operating funds. The permanent improvement fund goes into a different fund. Permanent improvements is 003 fund. So let me think, what else was I going to share? And the purpose, when, I'm sure most of you know this, but when they go through the reappraisal or an update, it's to bring the current values of property up to the market value, current market value. So, but our outside millage is fixed revenue, so that's a fixed dollar that we get. This, you can see by this dollar changes. So when I was going to give an example, but I'll just say that if the new levy passes, that will cause an increase. You will see that increase. But we will never receive more than $3 million or $3.3 million for that levy. So a levy that passed back in 2003, that passed the millage back then was 4.85. This is outside voted. Even though that millage is down to 2.35 mils, we're now still collecting just $3 million on that. Where the inside millage is where we see a difference in dollars. So, and just, trying to look ahead and maybe budget, I just took the 3 years of the highest number, which would be the 2007, the 2019, and 2022 years, and took an average of that, and it comes up to like 120 million, and then I would divide that out just to have an estimate, but that's no guarantee. But it's like, the other thing that, in talking with the county auditor last Friday, I learned that our collections are down a little bit, and I asked why this is, and he said that our collection rate went from basically 98% to 73.67% to 91%. So the delinquencies are affecting our collections too. So this is assuming that, everything pays. It's just an estimate, but a lot of people are, say when their taxes increase, this is the only thing that causes an increase unless we pass a levy or unless it's voted by the taxpayers. So I just thought I would share that this month because I focused on the outside last month and those dollar amounts, so.
I think one way to look at that is, obviously, as Carrie said, right, when you collect money on a levy, like the new one, for example, or one that we previously had, if we add 20 houses into the district at that time, then ultimately, that's going to help pay for each of those and lessen the burden on each taxpayer to pay for that, let's just say it's $3.3 million, okay? And then, and then you're gonna have this inside millage also kick in, and you're gonna see a little bit of increase from the overall property value of the district every so often. But it's not nearly, I think, what some people expect to be, because when you see all these houses being built, you think, oh, there's all this new tax money coming in, and House Bill 920 stops that from happening, really, in the state of Ohio, to some degree. We do see a slight increase compared to our overall budget, all of our revenue coming in, but ultimately, the biggest effect is on that, the levies that we have and lowering that amount when we see new growth in the district. So, I think that's kind of the generalist way to look at that.
Yeah.
It's school funding in Ohio is very difficult to understand, especially when you start to get into the different levies and millage and so forth. That's for sure.
I did find my Post-it, so it works well when I can find it, and this is why I write things down, because Rover has 70 school districts and 20-plus county auditors, and Nexus has 46 school districts in the 13 counties, so I did have those right there. Did want to share that.
And then what's the new tax bill that's supposed to average the last 3 years or something? They're gonna change the way they reevaluate, or did that not get?
The tax levy reform is still, is it at the House? It's still
pending.
It's still
Yeah.
pending. They haven't even taken testimony from
That would just
school
change the
districts yet.
way that you get reevaluated. Instead of a jump every 3 years, it would take an
Right.
average.
It's to
Yeah.
average it out, so that doesn't happen.
And there's some other bills in there too that would actually, depending on different characteristics, would lessen the tax burden on individuals. For example, older individuals and if they have owned their home for certain periods of time, that's a discussion as well. And there's a state committee that's looking at overall taxes, as far as property taxes and so forth, and looking at what can be done to provide relief to taxpayers across the state. So we'll just wait and see how that all affects schools, especially public schools moving forward.
Quick question, and you may have already answered, and I apologize, because my brain is just trying so hard to process it. So if so the new houses that we see that are being built, maybe like right now, people are moving in, we still get their, just like, we'll get their they will be taxed, right, for the school district. When do we see that money?
Well,
Like when-
taxes are always a year behind.
Okay,
So if a house is being built right now, it's based on the value of that house as of January 1st.
okay,
So that will not come on till at the well, we would see it on the tax bill because of the property value, just property. But then, once the house is built, obviously it has a much higher value, or I should say land. I was at the earliest 25, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't make it till 26.
What we're seeing is also with new houses, there has definitely been delays. Sometimes it's a year to a year and a half to actually see the value of the house and the land. Typically, we're just seeing the land until especially if it's a spec house, or new build for that matter, until it actually sells. And then the auditor's office has to go back in and make that change. And it could be that 2 years that Carrie's referring to before we actually see that, and see that tax structure change for them. But then that also then goes into lowering that tax amount for all of us who are homeowners, towards all those levies.
I will share that we do have a new county auditor, so, she may do things differently. I don't know. So far, she's staying the path of the former auditor, according to some of her staff, so, but I'm not sure how those things are gonna work moving forward.
So it's just kind of hard to budget that money, like, because you don't know if it's going to be a year to 2 years.
Right,
No
well,
way to really kind of
the
know, like, we
former-
have this amount maybe coming.
The former auditor always told me it was whatever the value was of January 1st of that year. And then it would be the next year. Well, there was no value maybe other than land for, $50,000. The $450,000 house wasn't built yet, so it should be the next year, but it may not always happen that way.
I think your example, though, in the last one, so the inside millage on a brand-new house, on average, was only like 400 some dollars, I think, wasn't it?
Did I do that? Was that,
I think that was one of the examples in the, actually, I can
oh,
pull it up.
yeah, I was gonna say
For
how
your
much-
inside millage portion, that's actually
Right.
technically new money from a new house,
Right.
that's the
I
extra
showed that last
plus,
month,
yeah, is a few $100s
I
on
thought you
on
meant I
one
did it
house.
tonight.
Yeah, no, in the prior one. So that's the only really new money that you're getting, is that little bit. And then the rest is spread out, because it's all,
And the other rule of thumb is as the values go up, the millage goes down. So, the more value that the county auditor adds to the value, that value, as that increases, what you pay actually goes down.
When you reference the 2003 levy that was approved, was like 4.85, I think, at
Yes.
the beginning, and now am I correct in the twos?
Yes, yeah. it's
Collecting in the
2 point-
twos as far as
yep,
millage?
That's 2.35. So that's where that House Bill 920 that we talked, that's where it rolls that millage back, so we always only collect. So as the values go up, the millage goes down, so that's a perfect example. So, any additional questions? Okay, next item on the agenda is to approve the March financials as presented. Item C is to approve the donations as listed. You can see we're receiving donations for the Robbie Spanbauer Scholarship. You established that fund back in January. It's your first board meeting for some of you. And then also, we're starting to receive the after-prom donations as well. So we're grateful for all those donations. And then under item D is to approve the resolution accepting rates and amounts. This is from the county auditor's office, and this is just it's a document that they require. So when I presented all the millage last month, that sheet that I did that summary on, that is what they put it in here, so it's all of our rates and the amounts. This is where I noticed that our amount to be collected is actually down a little bit on the outside millage. And I asked why, and that's when I was informed that our delinquent tax had increased. So, and part of that is due to Nexus, so. But this is something we do annually, and this is one of the few documents that I work with the county auditor that they speak my language and is on a fiscal year. It's shocking, but yes, this is a fiscal year document, so it's for fiscal year 24, 25. So are there any questions on this?
that's funny, because we usually have to say, can you dummy it down to our language so that we, because it's too much
Well,
of
yeah.
finance language, but yes.
Well, the calendar year and being a year behind is just a bit much, so.
Any questions, comments for Carrie?
I think just two other comments. I think just to let the public know, Mike and myself are on the finance committee, so we meet in between. So we met since last meeting with Carrie and Jim and the finance folks. We had an agenda that's been published to all the board. We talked about casino revenue, property values, Nexus, all the grants that we receive. And it's just an education where we a little bit deeper dive into different areas of the finance that we went through. So just to let everybody know that we do that, and then we communicate that back out to the board. That was one thing. And then I also wanted to give just recognition to Mrs. Johnson and the staff. The state audit was finished. I know we sort of mentioned it last time, but it's now like official with no findings. I mean, they were here for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks on site. So that's no small feat anytime you go through an audit. I mean, it's technically kind of a third-party audit, even though the state gives us this much money. You know, they audit all the money that we spend in the district. So, and they go line by line all the way through for every single entry level. So I think that's just to Mrs. Johnson and her staff on keeping good records and good finances for the district. So thank you.
Thank you. I have great staff. So,
All right, with that, we need a motion to approve.
I will motion to approve.
All right, and a second.
I'll second.
And Carrie, when you're ready, can you please call roll?
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkemeyer?
Yes.
Ms. McKnight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stamm?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, with that, item 4, Superintendent's Educational Report.
Thank you. First, we're going to have Mr. Schneider, and he's going to start an athletic presentation.
Thank you. For those of you who have not had the privilege to
Actually.
meet yet, my name is John Snyder. I am the athletic director at UMaine for the last 12 years. And I know that because I had it every day and I have fingers. As my service has been here for a long time. So 12 years I have had the
Hey,
absolute
John,
pleasure.
I don't think that's on. No, I don't think the mic's on. Sorry. Sorry, John.
Okay, thank you. Whoa. So for the last 12 years, I have had the absolute pleasure to be the athletic director of Anthony Wayne High School. And I was asked by Dr. Fritz and Mr. Herman if I would come in tonight and give a little bit of a state of the athletic department address, if you will. And if I sound as if I'm bragging about our athletic department, that's because I am. Because I am extremely proud of what we have accomplished, specifically the last 10 years, which we'll talk about here in a second. But you will notice that there's a theme here of success is not an accident. And what I mean by that is we have worked extremely hard to be where we are. We did not just stumble in a well and start winning. We are winning because of the hard work, dedication, passion our coaches, our parents, our student athletes are showing. So with that, we'll move forward and show you some of the numbers when it comes to Anthony Wayne and our athletic department. You will notice on here that at the high school alone, we have 723 student athletes. That is 51% of our student body. You walk down the hallway, 1 out of every 2 kids you see is playing at least one sport. That is amazing when looking at other districts around us. Meanwhile, likewise, at the junior high, 314 student athletes are participating in a sport. That's 45% of their student body. So all in, we have 1,037 student athletes in grades 7 through 12. And that's actually up 8, because we have about 8 kids decide today they're going to come out for track. So this number is just growing and growing and growing. And as we'll talk about here in a second, our numbers are higher than they have ever been in the history of this school. That is a good problem to have, still a problem, but a really good problem to have when so many schools around us are struggling to form teams. You also see up there how many kids are playing 3 sports, 2 sports, and 1 sport. And again, it's just really high with our current numbers of kids participating in the school, which is incredible to see. This right here are the current fall sports participation numbers in the Northern Lakes League, our conference. You will notice when you look at this, Perrysburg has 469 kids. We have 460. With that said, the D1 schools up there as well, Northview, Whitmer, Findlay, those are all schools, I believe, who their enrollment might be a little bit larger than us, but you can see that we have about 100 kids more than them participating in fall sports. So again, our numbers are significantly high when it comes to participation within the district and the Northern Lakes League. Now this slide is the slide I'm probably most proud about. This is the slide that, of all the trophies we win, the medals we hand out, this is the one that makes me extremely proud to be AD. Of all of our student athletes, 52% are female student athletes. Most districts around us, that number's 60 to 65 on a male side. Almost half of our student athletes are female. That is incredible for a lot of the school districts around us for us to see that. On the right, you will notice it says, this is what we call our drop-off rate. And our drop-off rate basically says, if you take all the freshmen who play a sport their freshman year, and you keep track of them until their senior year, how many of them are still playing at least one sport? Only 5.8% of our kids stop playing sports altogether in their high school career. That number is usually around 20 to 25 at other districts. Our kids are sticking with it. Now, they might not play all 3 sports anymore, but they're still going to be playing at least one sport. To have only 6% of your kids quit athletics is amazing. So those two I am extremely proud of. I mentioned earlier talking about the previous 10 years with athletics. Prior to 2013, Anthony Wayne had 2 OHSAA state Final Four appearances and 1 state championship. That was 2003 with softball. If we fast forward all the way to the last 10 years, you will notice in the last 10 years, since 2013, let's say, we have 10 OHSAA state Final Four appearances. 7 of those are since 2018. We have a boys golf state championship this year. We had a state wrestler in 2015, a state track and field disc and shot thrower in 2016. We've had countless kids who have gone on as individuals as gymnasts, swimmers, divers, tennis players, golfers, cross country, the list goes on and on. We also have had numerous OASSA cheerleading state performances, as well as for our dance team. All of this has taken place since 2013. And again, in the history of the school, this kind of success is extremely powerful for what we've seen in the last 10 years. This is also, I will never be the AD to say trophies only matter. I will never be that guy. But if just for 10 seconds I can. This is incredible when you think about this, that all of last year, if you take all of the 23 school year, and then you take this fall, and then you take this winter, the Northern Lakes League gave out 35 trophies to champions. We won 20 of them. 20 of 35 times Anthony Wayne was crowned the champion of the Northern Lakes League. I don't know what those other 15 sports were doing, but we'll find out. But again, to win the championship 20 out of 35 times is absolutely incredible and something we are extremely proud of. We would be remiss if we didn't at least talk about some of the other things we do. We are firm believers that our student athletes today make our leaders for tomorrow. And our coaches, some of which are here tonight, they instill these values in our kids every single day. The hard work, the grit, the dedication, the loyalty, the list goes on, that we teach our student athletes so that later on in life they will be more prepared for some of the obstacles they are going to face. Our coaches work daily to make sure our kids are not just learning these lessons on the playing surface, but in life away from sports. And we are extremely proud of what they've done. We've had kids come back from the military, from trade, from med school, from law school, and they are still just as passionate about that blue and white and that Anthony Wayne logo as they were when they were playing for us. It is awesome to see. And a lot of this is because of the lessons and the dedication that they've learned as a student athlete with us. And we have several teams. This is just as a really short list. Several teams who give back to our community by purchasing and wrapping Christmas gifts. Cherry Street Mission volunteers. We have youth camps for all of our sports where our kids show up and work with our upperclassmen, our coaches. Reading to primary age students. Victory Day for our special needs students for football. Those are just some of the things we've done for kids over the years in order to give back to our community, and it has definitely taught our kids how to be better adults future down the line. And again, as I said, success is not an accident. There are so many moving parts to this athletic department. If we did not have these individuals, none of this is taking place. So many of the behind-the-scenes players, pardon the pun, such as our assistant athletic director, Pat Phillips, our athletic secretary, Tiffany Tully, our athletic trainers, our game workers, our volunteers, our scoreboard operators, our PA guy, everything. The list goes on and on. We put 6,000 people into a football stadium, and we try to make it look like it just happens. It doesn't. There's so much preparation and work that goes into a Friday night football game at Anthony Wayne. It is exhausting. But we do our best that everyone thinks it just happens, and that's because of the individuals up there. I am blessed to work with so many great, passionate, loyal people to this district, and they play an absolute key role in what we've had. As I said earlier, we are more popular now than we've ever been. Our our numbers are higher now than they've ever been. We are more successful now than we've ever been. 8,000 social media followers. Some days that's not a good thing, but still 8,000 social media followers. We have, again, over 1,000 student athletes participating, and we are without question one of the top, if not the premier athletic department in Northwest Ohio, and I firmly believe that with all my heart. I talk to other ADs every single day, and the problems I complain about, they would love to have. We seriously are one of the best, if not the best, and I'm extremely proud of that. With that said, I was asked by Mr. Herman to have a head coach speak to you. I asked Coach Donnelly to speak. Coach Donnelly is our baseball coach. He was our wrestling coach for years. He is one of those guys who you meet doing this job who was born to coach. He's one of those guys that no matter what he did in life, he was going to coach. We're just lucky to have him coach for us. After Coach Donnelly speaks, Bryce Anderson will speak. He's one of our multi-sport senior athletes. They're both really good guys. I just went out and found really, really tough pictures. But they are incredible at what they do. So with that said, I will hand the mic over to Coach Donnelly for his comments.
Okay, thank you, John. I'm going to come up here so I don't have my back turned to all you guys. Anyway, I was asked to speak on behalf of the athletic department as far as what it means to coach and what my why was for coaching. And there's zero chance, and those of you that know me, I'm pretty long-winded. I will try not to be. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get my why in, and these people want to go home at some point. So I got thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to tell my story and how it all happened and how I got into it and how it's impacted me from a personal level and some of the relationships that have happened through the course of my years. I graduated from Clay High School in 2000, and at that time, I played for a guy named Carl Knierim, who was my baseball coach, for Rex Ruby, who was my wrestling coach, Troy McLaughlin, and some people that really influenced me from a positive standpoint. And it just so happened that during that time, Rick Heinchel was the principal at Clay High School. Some of you may know Rick. When I left in 2000 and graduated, I went to Indiana University, where I played, and just so happened that same year, Mr. Heinchel came out here and was the director of curriculum and personnel. My mom ran into Mr. Heinchel at Kroger. As silly as that may sound, you want to know how's Ryan doing. He's getting ready to student teach. He's in education, wants to get into coaching. He says he would love to come back here. And at that time, Mr. Heinchel said, I have the perfect person. And at that point, I was introduced to Steve Mossing. And those of you that know Steve Mossing know that he's one of the best ever. And Jamie Carter, who's in the back. And they took me under their wing, and they showed me. Jamie's coached for a long time, current girls basketball coach, a very successful program. Steve has coached basketball, who was a longtime boys golf coach at the time, and I was learning the ropes on the fly from some really, really good people. And when I got thinking about why I do what I do, I look back at people like Coach Knierim and Coach Ruby, Coach McLaughlin, and then the morals and the stuff that I learned from Mr. Mossing and from Jamie that got me into it. And at the time, then Coach Mossing introduced me to Craig Smith and then to Randy Musgrove. And I looked, I'm like, this district is ridiculous when it comes to the amount of people that give back to our kids. And then I became part of that fraternity, if you will, of coaches at Anthony Wayne when Coach Smith took me on as a volunteer. And then I helped with Coach Musgrove with the wrestling program. And then he stepped down after 1 year as an assistant, and we needed a wrestling coach. And Paul Holan was the athletic director at the time, and he had the trust in me to take over a wrestling program at 24 years old, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was the oldest guy on staff. We screwed up more than we got it right, but we loved kids, and we wanted to learn, and we wanted to build something, and we did. And I'm very proud of what we built with our wrestling program. And I remember standing on the sideline at Central Catholic, and you know, at that time, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, you know, Coach Nell allowed me in and helped me get started with baseball, and that's what I did in college. So I was really fortunate to learn from Coach Nell. And then when Coach Nell resigned, I was approached about applying for the baseball job. And it was a new challenge, and it was invigorating for me to get a new challenge at that point in my career. In the last 3 years of doing that, we've had some ups and downs, and clearly, looking at Bryce's picture, some serious ups. We had a really good year last year. But basically, the why is that people invested in me, and so I feel like it's my responsibility to invest in kids, and that's what I wanted to do. And I couldn't think of a better place to do that than here, because the support system is through the roof. The other coaches I look, Coach Williams, Coach Billings, Coach Carter, as I look around, they're involved, they're active, they're present, which is so important. We get to know the kids outside of the classroom. so different when you see, I see it in PE, which is so important. There's a social aspect of it that we get to learn about our kids, that they're not sitting at a desk. They're up, they're moving, they're interacting with one another. And then the other part of it is, and this is something that's very important to me, in that I think that, as a coach, yes, we're writing practice plans, there's long hours, there's fundraising, there's trip planning, there's bus requests, there's all of these things. But there's a great responsibility that I take great pride in, and at some point, this athlete is going to be done. It is important to me, and I'll get emotional, to be the last person, or the first person that they see, whether it be a hug because they're done, or a hug because this young person just set a goal that they've trained for so long, and the parents that have driven them everywhere to help them achieve that goal, to be the first person that they embrace at that moment, whether it be through sadness or pure joy, is a responsibility that I will forever cherish. That's why I do what I do. And I love doing it here because we have great people. So with that said, one of the people that last year, unfortunately, we got beat in an extra innings game, but it wasn't for effort, it wasn't for support, it wasn't for anything. It just didn't, for that moment, it wasn't our time. And our time's coming. But one of the young men that I've really, really been fortunate to work with over the course of the last 2 years is Bryce Anderson, who's here to talk to us tonight as well. And when you have people like Bryce in your program, you always have a chance. And I believe that we have a lot of kids with the passion, but not many of them have seen sports at Anthony Wayne like how Bryce has seen sports. Okay, and I'm not throwing Bryce under the bus here, but Bryce has been a 3-year starter, is a 3-year starter at shortstop for our baseball team. He was voted to the Ohio High School Athletic Association Final Four All-Tournament team. He's one of the best, okay? Decided to join football for the first time as a senior and take on a new challenge. How cool is that, right? Like, this kid's one of the best players in the state of Ohio in baseball and decides to play football his senior year. And then when you go to a basketball game, you might not notice Bryce. Bryce doesn't see a lot of playing time, and that's not a knock, but he leads in other ways. And that's what sports, and that's what our coaches are instilling in our kids, is that they don't have to be the star player to find value. There's value in sports and athletics that go beyond scoring touchdowns, hitting home runs, throwing no-hitters. And I think that we have coaches in place, athletic directors and building administrators that support that ideal, and we have kids that bought into it. So some of the numbers that Mr. Snyder shared about the last 10 years, it's buy-in, it's relationships. It's people that trust in one another. They put faith in one another. And quite frankly, we just get after it, and we work hard. It's good old-fashioned hard work and trust and belief and relationship building. And I couldn't be happier to have Bryce leading our team this spring. So with that said, I'm going to introduce you to Bryce Anderson. Bryce, come on up and talk to these people.
Hi there. My name is Bryce. Before I start, I want to thank Coach Donnelly, Mr. Snyder, and the rest of you guys for allowing me to talk about what it's like to be a student athlete. It means a lot to share my personal experience with you all. Throughout my time at Anthony Wayne, my coaches and teachers have taught me invaluable life lessons that extend far beyond the confines of a sports field and classroom. Being a student athlete is more than just playing games. It's about the lessons I've learned, the friends I've made, and the memories I've created. As Coach Donnelly said, I've been fortunate enough to see sports at Anthony Wayne through a lot of angles. I grew up watching both my brothers play sports and their friends. Played very rarely in basketball, but had a blast. Excelled in baseball and just started football. For football, it's taught me a lot about teamwork, pushing through tough times, and working together towards a goal as a team. Basketball, even as a bench player, showed me the importance of being humble and supporting my teammates. In baseball, has taught me to stay focused, never give up, and keep going even when times get tough. But I couldn't have learned these things without the guidance of my coaches, teachers, and other staff members at Anthony Wayne. They've been like mentors, teaching me not just about sports and academics, but about life in general. They've pushed me to be my best, believed in me when I've doubted myself, and showed me what it means to be part of a team. And through all of my experiences at Anthony Wayne, I've made friendship that will last a lifetime. From the early morning practices and late night games, my teammates have become like a second family, always there for me to support me and encourage me. I can truly say I've enjoyed every moment I've had on the athletic field and in the classroom, walking through Anthony Wayne's hallways. So as I stand here today, I'm not just a student athlete, I'm someone who's been shared who's been shaped by the life lessons learned, friendships made, and the guidance of my coaches and teachers. And for that, I'll always be grateful for Anthony Wayne. Anthony Wayne has truly set me up for success in my future life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Thank you, Coach Donnelly. Thank you, Bryce. I think you, as a board, you get a sense of our athletic programs. Obviously, we talk about the fall, but I think for the last several years, as we look at the success we have seen, it's a testament to everything they talked about, right? The hard work, the dedication, the investment in kids, as individuals, as people, as young adults. Bryce, you did an awesome job, and congratulations to you. It's a testament to your parents and to you as well, to stand up here in front of this group and share those thoughts with us. We appreciate that. To Coach Donnelly, I've had the pleasure of watching him coach and seeing how kids thoroughly enjoy him as a coach, and the experience that he's provided to them through different sports. And I appreciate John and our other athletic director, Haley Barrett, at the junior high, and the work that they do, but also all the coaches. I mean, they do a great job. A lot of things we don't get to see, right? The day practices, the night practices, the morning practices, sometimes in the summer getting up at 5 or 6 in the morning out there, getting it done. And we appreciate the work that you do to shape and develop our youth into fine young adults and allow them to achieve our mission, which is to make sure that they're ready for their future. And I think we got great coaches that do that work each and every day. So thank you for all that you do. I do appreciate it. Guys, any questions for them?
Say, I can attest, I don't know if you want me to call you out, Coach, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I can attest, Coach Donnelly has been one of my idols. Bryce, you're loving every second of it. I graduated from here. You're gonna wake up, say I'm 30, you're gonna wake up at 30, and you'll still hear him yelling at you, and you're just gonna wake up and smile. You'll do something wrong, you'll hear him in the background. No, I can attest, Coach Donnelly is one of the best, and all my coaches I had here. Coach Carter, it's like a whole reunion here, going in Coach Carter's class, and you guys are doing an absolute phenomenal kick butt job. I would say something else, but we'll do that when the mics are done.
I would ditto those comments. Ditto those comments from Dr. Fritz. And I've never played baseball, but I sort of want to now. I don't know.
And I have to give a quick shout out to Coach Williams. She knows I'm like a huge fan of hers, but she coached Ella for travel soccer, and she took the time to go to a coffee shop on a Saturday morning and meet with my oldest daughter, Ella, and I, because Ella was just struggling, should I play soccer? And I don't know, and should I try to play in high school, even though it was 7th grade? And she took the time to come and meet with her and was just, I just can't even put into words. I just hope she knows just the encouragement you've been in Ella's life. And I'm really wanting Ella to try out for high school, and she thinks, I think in her mind, she thinks, oh, you just want me to play? I'm like, and I told her, I was like, I just love Coach Williams, and I want her investment into your life if you can have that opportunity. So it does not go unnoticed. You have a big fan club, and thank you so much for all you do for those girls. It's incredible. So
thank you guys. Bryce, thank you for what you do. I got a 7th grader right now, and he's looking up to the guys like you. So thank you for what you do on the field, off the field, and thanks for the program that he's going to be able to enjoy moving forward.
And I'd also like to add that both of my girls were involved in sports at Anthony Wayne, from cheerleading to track to softball, and they still talk about the great coaching. And I remember when my youngest daughter came home with a spirit stick in 7th grade, and she thought that was better than getting straight A's. But it was a remarkable achievement for all of of these kids that were going out for these sports. So thank you so much, guys and gals, for what you do.
Thank you.
Well, one more serious note. We're 9 behind Perrysburg, right? You said 8. Can we get 2 more students? They're not going to be behind Perrysburg. Anthony Wayne is better. Much appreciated.
Some more great news, too, out of the high school. I had the opportunity to go to a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society fundraiser put on mostly by 2 of our students, Haley Call and Olivia Whitker. They raised $19,677 for that organization. And I know some other kids were involved in it. I just can't say enough about the work they were doing to do something for somebody else. And we have plenty of examples like that throughout our district. I think we're at 49 out of 50. Our goal was 50 projects over this year. 50 for 50 with Fallen Timbers and Monclova turning 50. So we're 1 away at this time, and we're happy about that. I just can't say enough about them and what they were doing. In-demand jobs and career fair. I know some of you had an opportunity to come and see that in the evening. I was there during the morning session. Over 70 businesses. It truly was a great event, and I also appreciated the fact that we added the evening program to allow parents to come in as well, and even community members. We had some people there from Ardall that came in that had recently lost their positions, and so we look to expand that each year. The goal is to get to 100 employers that'll come to that and be partners with us, and continue to provide that opportunity not only to our students but also to our community for those who need employment, who are seeking employment. Just want to mention briefly, as we all know, there's an important date next Tuesday with the new operational levy being on the ballot. Carrie has mentioned some of the things that we've already done, so I won't get into the cost-saving measures that are already in place, that we put in place, but we continue to work on those moving forward. I do want to briefly show you, we've talked about the Anthony Wayne Bridges program. This is on our website, and those of you at our home, feel free to go to our website and click in the search box and put Anthony Wayne Bridges. This program, Kevin and I had the opportunity right here in this room. Jeff was there as well, and it was. We just happened to be there because it was the board meeting for the Anthony Wayne Bridges Neighborhood Bridges program. They do phenomenal work for students and families in our district. We need them, right? We need them to be there for those in need. It's been a tremendous success in seeing when our staff connects with them and shares a need that a family has, how our community just steps up and takes care of these needs very quickly. It's all anonymous, and it's just a great program. So if you're interested in understanding more about this, I encourage you to go to our website or just look up Anthony Wayne Neighborhood Bridges Program, and you'll find it. They have their own website, and you can find out how you can become a part of that. It's just such a great program. I can't say enough about it. So I do encourage everyone to look at the website and if you can, become involved in that program. Next item, we have some graduation approvals. Just a few more students who are going to graduate early at this time, and Dr. Pfefferle is recommending them for graduation. I have 2 overnight trips. You see that we have 55 band students going to a program at Akron, University of Akron. They will be paying the cost for that travel to there. And then we have 7 through 12 DECA students going to the International Career Development Conference and Competition in Anaheim, California. That will be paid through Penta. Penta pays all of those costs for DECA and FCCLA and so forth, okay? We do not pay for any of that for those students. It's all covered by them. Item D, educational agreements. That is for a student who has specific needs, and we're asking you to approve that program for them at this time. Item E is transportation request. This is payment in lieu. I'm going to mention a few items about that specifically. Let me get my notes here. $596.43 per student. And you ask, what is that for? That's what we reimburse, according to the state of Ohio, parents who do not use our transportation and/or if we deem transportation to be impractical for parochial private school students. And so we have 201 students at this time. Their parents are utilizing this program at a cost to the district of $119,882.43. I mention that to you because some of you may have never heard of that before, and just want you to know it's a required thing that we do. We have to offer it to these parents who are choosing to partake in the program. It's a fixed amount, and ultimately, I have to present this to you for approval because we will have to pay it at some point. But we're going to pull that out. I know we're going to pull that out of an overall section, and I'll explain that here in a few minutes for you to approve. Any questions on payment in lieu?
And it's the amount's irregardless of the mileage? It's a.
Yeah, so it's it's a fixed rate amount. Yeah, per person. It used to be about, actually, less than half of that cost, just a few years ago. They've increased that, and we expect that will continue to increase in the years ahead.
So that rate is half of the average cost to transport a student?
No, it's based on,
Well, yeah, so what ODE is saying is that $1,192.87 is the cost to, I think for the previous year, for a parochial student.
like they find an average.
Their average of what it costs.
Yeah,
Okay. And that's a statewide average, that's not, okay.
yeah. Yeah, and basically, we get this, each year we get this letter, and it shares with us that amount that is required to pay. If this information is advertised to these parents, so that they're aware that they can apply for it. And then, as long as they qualify, which they would get it.
And our option would also be that we could transport them?
Yes, we could. The issue becomes is, one, we do not have enough bus drivers, and two, the time, because, for example, if we had to transport to some of these locations, we would have to take an individual route, go out and pick those students up individually. We would never have enough staff to do that.
Agreed, and, did you ever come up with a dollar figure? Like, this is $119,000, I'm guessing that would be quite a bit more.
Yeah, it would be hard because it depends on who would take advantage of the program. And, yeah, and how many routes that we would need depending on that. We'd have to put them into the routing system and figure that out.
Okay.
Any other questions on payment in lieu?
I'll talk about it.
Okay. Item F, supplemental text. If you remember, the curriculum committee had our guidance counselors in and talked about Aaron's Law and the requirements for that. And the recommendation is to approve Educate to Protect and Sources of Strength as the two programs for the K through 6 guidance program for that. I'm asking that you approve an AW Chamber membership. The membership with the Anthony Wayne Regional Chamber of Commerce is $120 per year. I serve on their board only to help make connections with businesses to the Anthony Wayne local schools, but also that gets me involved in other things like Cherry Fest and things like that, where I volunteer to help them through that and raise money for their programs, but also allows us to have good connections and have continual conversations with businesses and so forth in the area. Okay. I would ask that you approve B and D. And and then F through G as well. And then I think there was a desire to pull out E,
Yes.
which is payment in lieu, at this time. And so we'll separately vote on E.
Everything except E.
Yes.
I had a quick question on the, just from our curriculum committee, if you guys have any comments on the new law or the curriculum stuff that you guys have been going through in committee.
Well, on the two that are mentioned here, the educate to protect and the sources of strength, I was very much taken with the continuation, the consistency throughout the program, especially with the sources of strength. And that the areas that they involve with that they mention. This is physical, mental health, family support, positive friendships, mentors, healthy activities, generosity, and spirituality. And through this curriculum of sources of strength, the students are given more and more intense training in all of these as the years progress. The lady that spoke with us online talked about the foundation work of this and how it's celebrating resiliency and help seeking. So if there is someone out there that they should not feel that they cannot ask for help, I was very much taken with the talking circles and it seemed to me that it was very much affirmation rather than a punishment type of situation, so I liked that part of it. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. The sources of strength, I know I mentioned in the meeting that I think we all know in our community bullying has been brought up a lot, and that is definitely something to take seriously and to address. But I remember talking back, campaigning, it was like, I guess I would love to see, instead of just talking about bullying and how to punish it, like head it off so that we're just decreasing it ever even happening, and teaching character, teaching kindness, rewarding that. And the sources of strength really seems to do that, and I was just really impressed by that curriculum. We actually don't have to start it until 6th grade, but we are choosing to start it at kindergarten, which I think is great, because then we're not all of a sudden in 6th grade deciding, you know what, you should be kind to that person, this is how you can do that. I think it's very wise that our counselors thought, let's just go ahead and start in kindergarten. And so we're building on it. And then the Educate to Protect as well, it just seemed like a great program, meets the requirements, and we kind of just made a note that we like the idea of putting it forward for the board to approve, because it's just one more way to bring peace of mind to the community that we have all talked about it and are in agreement and feel comfortable moving forward with it as a good program for the kids. So.
It uses a lot of I statements and has a student confront another student, a student confront a teacher, and using I statements to make that person understand, to use words rather than your fists, to move along and to replace kindness with other emotions the child might be feeling. It's okay to say that you're angry. Why are you angry? Find the causes of that. Could be inside school, could be outside school. I was very much taken with that. There is an element of forgiveness and apologizing, sincere apologies. It's very authentic. I thought it was a very authentic, geared program.
I have one question on that. I looked through it. I thought it was looked like a really good program as well. But I also saw that parents could opt out of the program if they would like to, if they'd want to teach this stuff at home.
I think that was the other one, the Educate to Protect.
Okay.
The sources of strength is a whole different thing. The Educate to Protect starts with knowing your body parts, talking about the areas that are covered by a bathing suit, and this age
A little more
appropriate.
sensitive
Yes, very much.
topics covered in
Yes.
Educate to Protect
Yes.
versus Source of Strength. So yeah,
Right, that's a
the
different
counselors,
program.
they would send home a note
Yes.
saying, if you'd like,
You can opt
this is
out.
what we're talking about, if you want to opt out, sign it, and so,
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my question, is
Yeah.
how did the parents find out if they would choose that route?
yes, yeah.
Parents are updated all the time on the Educate to Protect, and they're always updated on what's being offered at that time. They're able to look at the materials. They can then opt out on a particular part, not necessarily all of it, maybe something a little sensitive. But it does approach things like who you should be afraid of, and not just, who is a stranger, because because somebody in your home could be somebody that is abusive. And there's avenues where these children are able to go anonymously and in protected areas so that they can voice whatever is bothering them. So I like that about the program as well.
Jim, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes.
And it's not, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm reading my notes here. It's not like an ongoing training. I have in my notes that it meets the requirement with only one lesson per grade level, correct? Is that correct?
I know Lindsay and I both learned something that we didn't know about, and that there is a universal distress signal that you place your finger here and your fist over, and if you're walking along and some person does that and they're with somebody, that's a signal that I'm in trouble, I can't talk, but help me. And I had not heard of it, we didn't know. And I'd asked a friend of mine who's a sign language teacher if that was a sign, because they do teach the sign language in part of these programs. And it is not. That she said, no, it's just, that's something that was adopted, but I didn't know it, and it's becoming universal throughout the country.
That's your fun fact for the night.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? If not, I need a motion to approve letters here.
Yeah, B and A through D, and then F and G.
I will
Everything
make the
except for
motion to approve.
Makes motion. And a second.
I'll second.
And Carrie, when you are ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hapkemeyer?
Yes.
Ms. McKnight?
Yes?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stom?
Yes.
And then I need a motion to approve E.
And I just wanted to make a few comments.
Yep.
I understand that this is a state mandated amount of money that we do have to pay. And many students who do go to these private schools do not take the bus, it's too far to take them. It's over 30 minutes, I believe that's one of the requirements, so that they can be transported by a parent. And I looked through the entire list that Dr. Fritz gave, and there's quite a few students being transported this way by their parents. And it's $120,000, give or take a few dollars. This is a lot of money, and this is not reimbursed by the state. Anthony Wayne loses this money. This comes out of their budget, and it's $120,000, and I had to keep thinking about that. That would pay for an administrator that we had to let go. And to me, this is not right. I realize that this is a state issue, and until things change at the state level, that it's going to stay the same, it's going to get worse. But it's a shame that that money has to come out of our budget to transport kids to a private school. So I just wanted to bring that up because that's what the lawsuit is all about, that's going on in the state right now about vouchers and about these expenses going from public school money, your levied money out of your pocket that's going to private schools. And until that's changed and people recognize it's against the Constitution of the state of Ohio, it's not going to change. So I just wanted to mention that.
All right, with that, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Carrie, can you please call roll?
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkemeyer?
Yes.
Ms. McKnight?
No.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stomp?
Yes.
All right. Item 5, Lieutenant Smith.
Thank you. Resignations and retirements, you see those listed there. I want to thank everybody who has been working for us. Obviously, we've got a few bus drivers in there, and we're hiring a bus driver, so that's good news. We have employment is the only, the bus driver is the only one listed there, but that's helpful. And then substitute employees as listed. Item C, certified, classified, a nurse, and then we have some tutors as well. Item D are volunteers that we're asking you to approve. You're gonna see more volunteers in the next couple of, or actually next month especially, because we have field trips that are taking place in May, and that typically is the time that you'll see those on there. Item E are supplemental contracts, just one listed there at this time for this year, and then contract amendments as listed. So unless you have questions, I would ask that you approve A through F at this time in one motion.
Any questions for Dr. Fritz? If not, I'll need a motion to approve.
I so move.
Any second?
I'll second.
And Ms. Carey, when you are ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkemeyer?
Yes.
Ms. McKnight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stomp?
Yes.
We have the recognition of visitors portion. We have 2 tonight. First one, when Dr. Fritz, you have the 5-minute timer there. I would say when Chris is set up, you guys let me know. Good to see you, Ms. Herman. First one up will be, I'm gonna call you by what I remember you from, but Mr. Shivadecker.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Ryan Shiverdecker. I'm in my 22nd year as a teacher at Anthony Wayne High School. I'm an English teacher. I've been the co-president for the Anthony Wayne Education Association for 13 years, and I'm proud to represent 269 teachers that we serve. My wife, who is an educational researcher and professor for the Ohio State University, my wife and I live in Monclova, and we have 4 children. Our oldest graduated from AW in 2021. I'm going to deviate from my prepared notes just for a second. My son had the opportunity to wrestle under Coach Donnelly. It was a life-changing, transformative experience for him. Ryan, I can't thank you enough for everything you did for Wyatt. We also have a sophomore in high school, an 8th grader at the junior high, and a kindergartner at Monclova Elementary. When my wife and I looked at houses, we only looked for homes in this district, and it was absolutely due to the school system. Since we both have careers in education, living in the school district was our highest priority. I work here. I have firsthand knowledge of the outstanding faculty in our buildings and of the opportunities that our students have. We want these things for our own children, and we want our children to learn from the best educators in the area. It's a choice we would easily make again. From working so long in the public school system, I know the challenges Ohio public districts face. Every year, districts like ours are faced with increasing costs due to unfunded mandates put in place by a state legislature that hasn't fixed our funding system, even though the state Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional in 1997. Every year, districts like ours experience additional burdens brought on by vouchers, siphoning public money to private enterprises that do not have the same level of oversight or accountability as our public schools do. Our costs continue to increase while our revenue remains unchanged. It's a misconception in the community that an increase in housing has led to an increase in revenue. It was said earlier, but that's simply not the case. Schools are capped on revenue, so more houses don't mean more funding. They simply mean every homeowner's tax burden is lessened. Since I'm not a math teacher, I offer this simple illustration for school funding. Suppose a school district's comprised of 1,000 households. All of them contribute equally to the school. You build 30 new houses. The amount of money the school collects remains unchanged, but that cost is now just a little less for every household. In Anthony Wayne, we are getting a bargain. Looking at our neighbors, the high-performing, the low-performing, and everything in between, Anthony Wayne continues to be among the best-performing districts in the state. And we're doing it while operating at one of the lowest costs per pupil. As our former superintendent, Randy Hardy, used to say, in fact, he said this when I was hired, we run a really lean district here. It was true then, and it's true now. I've been a registered voter for 27 years. I voted yes on every school levy. I voted yes for every police, fire, and rescue levy. I voted for every public transportation levy, every zoo levy, every park levy, the library, senior services. Yes, every time, 1,000 times yes. And it's not because I want to pay more taxes. I vote yes because I'm a member of this community, and I believe the community has a responsibility to support the well-being of its members. That includes our health, our safety, and our education. Without securing these things, our community suffers. So I want to urge everyone to join me in voting yes for Anthony Wayne Schools on Tuesday, March 19th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. And then our second speaker is Roy Kalko.
Good evening. My name is Roy Colasso, and I'm a parent of a student in the Anthony Wayne School District. I would like to begin by thanking Dr. Fritz, Mr. Herman, the administration, faculty, staff, and the school board for all the time, effort, and work you put into teaching our kids and to serving our community. Several years ago, we moved to this district specifically because of the Anthony Wayne schools. In the interest of full disclosure, I have already voted in favor of the levy and would have done so even if I didn't have a child in the district. In fact, I've supported education-related levies in other districts before my child was even born, and I will continue to do so even after my child graduates from high school. As a former educator and academic scientist with a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology, I have taught and trained high schoolers, undergrads, grad students, and medical students, several of whom went on to become teachers and educators themselves. I strongly value education, both the vital role it plays in the development of our children and in advancing local communities, the economy, and society as a whole. Last November, I had also voted for the operational levy, and so when this levy campaign began a few weeks ago, I decided to put my money where my mouth was and donated to this effort the marginal tax difference I would have owed if last year's levy had passed. I have been doing my part by sharing details and information on social media with facts, research, and data in support of the levy, while trying to combat some of the disinformation being spread online about the district, its finances, and the upcoming levy. To that end, during last year's school board election, there were several candidates who were either opposed to the levy at the time or just didn't publicly support it for whatever reason. Now that we have new board members in place who have had a chance to look at the district's finances, I think it would go a long way in garnering support if the community knew where the current board members stood on supporting next week's levy, especially since this will be viewed online later. So if you don't mind, will each board member publicly state whether you unequivocally support the March 19th levy and if you will vote for it? Thank you.
Well, thank you. And then I don't want to speak for the entire board, if you were all willing to do that as well. I'll leave it up to you guys. I will state, yes, I do. I voted to put it on. We all five did, so I believe that is support, as well as, getting the information out. I believe we've done a heck of a good job, a lot better this time than we did last November, so.
Yeah, I'll say 100% support this levy.
Yes, I definitely support the levy, and I've been wanting to put something out on social media, but you have to be careful with that, because then people would just the loud people would just jump on you, so that's why I've hesitated, but I would just encourage anyone who's listening, that even if you're not for it, because it's okay that some people just don't feel comfortable with it, but it's just the negative comments, and then trying to spread maybe the misinformation to try to change other people's minds from their yes. It's okay if yours is no and you feel confident. It's okay if someone else is yes and they feel confident. We really just need to show our students that we can disagree and just move on and not give each other a hard time about our opinions. And so I am a yes for this. I have 3 kids in the district. The teachers are incredible. And my husband and I are more than happy to set aside that money to help their future and the future of all the other students in the district.
I voted the first day early voting started. I was excited to vote. And I voted for the levy. But we are up here representing everyone in the district, including the people that aren't for the levy. So I feel like my role as a board member is not to support or to go against the levy, but to make sure that the voters have the absolute best information. And I'd like to say that the people that are pushing people to vote for the levy have done an excellent job. They've really got good information out, and the misinformation that has been put out has been combated really well online. So I'd like to lift up people that are doing that. Thanks.
Having been a teacher for over 35 years, sitting on that side of the desk, when I decided to run, it was for teachers, it was for the students, for the betterment of the community. So you better believe I'm going to support that as much as I can. I've been working very hard with the levy, helping to deliver those mailers to the post office to get them out. Absolutely. I haven't voted yet. I think I will be voting next week. Definitely yes on the levy, definitely.
All right.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Ryan, thank you for showing up. It's awesome to have a teacher speak out at a meeting. Appreciate you.
All right, with that, anything else? We need a motion to adjourn. All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Carrie, when you are ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkemeyer?
Yes.
Ms. McKnight?
Yes?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stomp?
Yes.